think we're gonna do a mixture of soft spoken and whispering today. Because when I get to your questions, I want you to be able to hear my answers. This is exciting. So, welcome back, everybody, to the channel. This is Auntie Q ASMR, and this is a really exciting video. I have been collecting your questions in the comments for a couple of weeks now, in the pinned comment underneath all of my recent uploads, and we have compiled questions. I've got your cues, and tonight I'm going to A them. But this comes at a great time because our little channel has surpassed, it hasn't surpassed yet, but we have hit 800 subscribers, which is so exciting because I have not uploaded in many days. I had to take a few days off to unplug and do a hard reset on my life. The house was becoming a mess, and I've just gone a lot for work, and I fell behind on some things that I needed to do, so I had to go do them. But I'm back today, and what do I see but the 800 subscriber count that was waiting for me, and that was so cool. So thank you everyone for subscribing and supporting this channel. And thank you for giving me your questions. Without further ado, I say we go ahead and get into it. So, first of all, thank you to user name J Agua for leaving the initial comment saying that we need a Q&A. I wasn't sure if this channel was big enough yet to where if I asked for questions that I would receive them. So thank you, J Agua, for giving me the push. And thank you to all of you who submitted questions. I was really surprised to receive the number of questions that we've got here tonight, and really flattered, and I'm really excited about answering them because there are some really thoughtful questions in here, and there's just some questions about things that I like to talk about. So that's just really cool. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone who took the time. So, I am going to be referring to each of you who submitted questions by your username, and I hope that I say them all correctly. And if I don't say your username correctly, I hope that at least I say it close enough that you know that I'm talking to you, and I appreciate you asking me your question. So our first set of questions, several of you left really thoughtful messages with multiple questions, so thank you for the time that took. Our first set of questions came from Brandon Ben Como 8337. Who wants to know my favorite place that I've been, as well as my least favorite? And Poison Spider also wanted to know what my favorite place is that I have ever been. So I'll answer domestic and international. I have many answers. So let me answer first the places that I have been because of my job, the places that I have been for work. And my favorite places to go for work domestically are number one, San Diego, because that's where my family lives, and whenever I have a San Diego layover, I go and see my family. I also love Charleston. I knew nothing about Charleston before I went to Charleston, and it is just such a cute, quaint town. I love the farmer's market. I love the vibe of the town. It's just so cute. The hotel that we stay at there is lovely. I also love any domestic layover that I can go hiking at. So any Montana, any Wyoming is especially nice. And internationally is a hard answer, because basically any trip that I've gotten to take for work that's international is automatically a favorite of mine because I love to travel. But Amsterdam has a nice little spot in my heart just because I've been there so many times that I have kind of a routine. It's not a place. I know it's one of those major famous cities, and it's on a lot of people's destination wish lists. It's not necessarily a place that I would say is a must go. But just because I've had the pleasure and the privilege of going so many times, it's kind of, I hate to say something that sounds so ridiculous and pretentious, but it's almost like my international home away from home. It's the place that I go to for work so often that I know where I like to go. There's places that I go every time. I feel comfortable there because I can get around to a few places without needing any direction. In particular, the tea store that I go to there, Mooi Chai, Netherlands. I know exactly how to get there. Whenever I'm in Amsterdam, it's the first place I go. I know which ferry landing to walk to get on which ferry, and I have the walk from leaving the ferry to getting to that tea store memorized, and I go there every time. It's the first place that I go when I get to Amsterdam, and I just sit and I have my tea. It's a tea culture club, but they really focus on the Chinese Gong Fu tea tradition, which is really lovely. You should watch a video about it on YouTube. It's just a really nice and meditative way to enjoy tea, and I love being there. It's peaceful. I love that I buy my matcha there because it's really high quality, and I enjoy buying tea in person. So even though there's one online vendor that has excellent ceremonial grade matcha, I just love that I can go there and purchase it. And then when I make my little morning matcha or my pre-work matcha, it's just knowing that I got it there and it feels special. But it's just because I have my little routines. There's nothing really in Amsterdam for me that's like a can't miss, but it's It's like a cozy place for me, and I like going there. But for work, I think my favorite place that I have been so far is Lima, Peru, because I love Peruvian food, which is something that I actually discovered because of this job. There is a restaurant in Madison, Wisconsin called Estación Inca. The first time that I stayed in Madison, I could feel sickness taking over my body. And I had a 30-hour layover in Madison. I got to the hotel and I went to bed. Because it was like it hadn't overcome me yet. And I felt like if I drank enough water and I got enough sleep and I ate the right meal, I could fend it off. And that's what I did. I slept so much. I drank so much water. And when I finally had slept so much that I couldn't sleep anymore, I looked up restaurants in the area. I saw that place and I realized I love Mexican food, and I've long wanted to educate myself more about food from different cultures in South America, and I realized I've never had Peruvian food before. So I went to that restaurant and I got such a killer meal that I will pick up trips to Madison just to go to that restaurant. And I ate that meal and I went back to bed, and I tell you, the next day I was fine. It cured me. I love it. I really love Peruvian food now. So to be able to go to Peru and eat Peruvian food in Peru all day long was the best. And the hotel was beautiful. And the food was excellent. And the people were super nice. And it was just so pretty. And I walked around all day. And when I wasn't eating food in restaurants, I was walking around. And I went to a grocery store there, and they had fruits from my list of fruits I want to try. Because that's one of my favorite things to do, is try fruits I haven't tried. And there's a list in my brain of fruits that I haven't got to try yet that I want to try. Like exotic fruits, fruits from other countries, fruits I can't get in America. And I had some of the best freaking fruit from just a random grocery store in Peru. It was wonderful. I just took it down to the water and just munched, and it was great. I went to this amazing restaurant for dinner. I just walked around. I had the best time. I love to eat on my layovers. That's the number one thing. I like to experience places through their food. I think that's the way to do it. And then my second favorite place would be Incheon, South Korea. Because it was just so exciting to get it. Flight attendants with my seniority will never, ever, ever get a Korea or a Tokyo, because those trips are so in high demand, and they go to very senior flight attendants. But when I used to have a reserve requirement, when I would be on reserve, you could specifically bid for a special flight attendant position where, when the aircraft has a certain number of seats sold, there has to be one flight attendant for X number of passengers. And when they sell a flight to a capacity that they need an extra flight attendant, that position will be posted for coverage, usually very last minute, and it usually goes to the flight attendants who are on reserve. So when I used to have a reserve requirement of 6 days per month in groups of 3 days, I would always bid a preference to receive that position, because that's really like the only way I could get international trips at the time. And one day I actually got awarded South Korea. The only reason that I got it was because it was either the day of or the day right after Lunar New Year. So it was a very full flight. And I loved being there. I ate the Korean raw marinated crab that you see on the internet. I do not like seafood at all, but I wanted to try what their big popular dish was. And actually, I ate two of them. I ate a regular one, I ate a spicy one, and then I ate a bowl of rice that had crab roe and a raw egg yolk on top. Drank a bottle of soju, had all the panchan. It was my first time trying perilla leaf kimchi, which is like, I loved it, and I really want to have it again. I really liked that. The only other thing that I got to really eat that day was sundubu, which I've had before, but this one had clams. And as someone who doesn't like seafood, I did eat it over there. But, unfortunately, I did not get to go to the markets, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to walk around in the street markets all day, just eating so much food. But because of the holiday, they were closed. If that had not been the case, I am sure Korea would be my number one. So hopefully I can go back there soon and do that. My favorite place that I've been, not for work, is Albania. I did a solo trip to Albania last year, and the days that I spent in the Albanian Alps in a place called Death, life-changing. It sounds dramatic, but just so peaceful and so beautiful and so serene. But every night I would eat at this open campsite, and I took my favorite photo that I've ever taken there, and everything about it just made me so calm and so happy that I just felt like I could cry in the best way. And the hiking was beautiful, and staying in guest housing with Albanian families with other young solo travelers. I'm never hostile when I travel because I am a loner, and I didn't really talk to people all that much, but just kind of that spirit of what people were doing. Like, I picked up some hitchhikers who were just young kids traveling, who were trying to, I was fortunate, I could afford a rental car while I was there, and these people, they traveled for 12 days by boat, by ferry, by bus to get to where I got in 2 days. I was like, that was really inspiring for me because they were doing it by any means necessary, and they were younger than me, and that was just, I thought that was amazing. So everything about that experience, and it's a small country, I was able to really, really get a feel for it and go to so many places, north to south for a week. And when I got to Gjirokastra, it just happened to be, they were having this annual Albanian folklore festival, and it just traditional Albanian dress and dance and instruments, and there's a castle, which was a museum at the top. I stayed with this family at this insanely beautiful homestay, and they served breakfast on this patio that overlooked everything, and it was so beautiful every morning. And they told me all the best things to do during the festival. Start up at the castle, which is a museum as well, and I was checking it procession, and I have so many cool videos from that, and then just like them dancing in the streets, and it was so freaking fun and so cool and just to have stumbled upon that was awesome. And the city of Berat was so pretty. Oh my god, it was so cool. I super duper recommend it. Now, Brandon had also asked what my least favorite place that I had been is, and my least favorite place in the whole entire world that I've been to so far is Atlanta. Nobody who's a flight attendant likes Atlanta. Maybe that's just a flight attendant thing. Maybe it's because of their airport. But I could pass on going back to Atlanta forever. Another question from Brandon is, have I experienced turbulence? Yes, of course. I think what you mean is, have I experienced like really severe turbulence? And that answer is actually no, not really. There's been like a handful of occasions where yes, I have. But flying is so safe and there's so much technology to have all of the turbulence that you could possibly avoid be forecasted and then avoid it. The instances where you hit weird air pockets, or you'll be the first plane to come across that turbulence before it informed everybody else in the sky about it, is really rare. And I mean, I've had like one situation where I was in the galley, I was setting up a tray of waters, and then there was a big bump, and I just took my seat, strapped in, and the water spilled, but nobody got hurt. There's been a few instances where like it's too rough to be up and about, and we're trained to take safety measures, and we do that immediately. And so I've been fortunate to not have any really catastrophic turbulence events or any catastrophic events. So far so good. Brandon also wants to know, when will I show the cats? Okay, so like I said, I needed to do a hard reset of my life, which was mostly just like cleaning my apartment so that it wouldn't be an absolute shame to have anybody witness on the internet in real life or in my imagination. And with the days that I took off getting that mostly completed, I noticed that, I don't know if like the temperature has regulated a bit, because the temperature was fluctuating in Minnesota for a while there, but it's been kind of constant lately. But that pipe knocking that I was concerned about has not been as bad, so I'm not gonna say when, because I don't know when, but I'm aiming for soon. Brandon also wanted to know if I have any goals to share. I do have goals. I do have some very personal goals that would be life-changing aspirations, and those are the kind that I don't share. I think if you talk about it too much, that you won't do it, and I'm also kind of superstitious, so I will tell you about those things as they happen. But as far as like smaller goals, yes, this year I want to go to Madeira, Portugal, and just hike. I hadn't even heard of this place like a month and a half ago, but the Instagram algorithm gods introduced me to the wonders of Madeira, and now it's all I think about, it's all I want to do. And so this year I need to go there for like a couple of weeks and go hiking. And long-term travel goals, I want to spend a month in Vietnam. I want to do a longer-term trip to Vietnam. Brandon also asked me about fun, and I miss it. I like playing sports like that. If I had friends in Minnesota, it'd be cool to play basketball, play volleyball. I aspire to make pottery a hobby, but I don't actually do that. I do knit, though. If you watch old videos on my channel, I also like to collect antiques. If you watch the video where I talked about my idea behind the channel name for this channel, you'd know that. I love to cook. The way that I kicked off these past couple of days, this past week or so, that I was not at work and I was trying to reset my life, I spent the first day all day long braising a leg of lamb in this really good braising liquid that I make, and I served it over polenta with charred broccoli rabe and a lemon garlicky herb granita topper thingy, and I thought that having a delicious meal to have for dinner every night would motivate me to do my tasks, and it really did. I love to cook. I also like baking, because I like fiddly projects, and so challenging myself to make macarons and actually succeeding a number of times. I really am into turning my favorite teas into flavors for macarons. I love tea. I love collecting tea, getting into tea cultures, and just collecting loose leaf tea and loose leaf tea accoutrement is really fun for me. So those are the creative type things that I do, is mostly just cooking, baking, knitting. I've been getting into reading only sci-fi right now. I really need to start branching out, but I do love reading sci-fi. I really enjoy watching sci-fi, and I spend way too much time on YouTube. And I like going for a good drive. That's also something I can get into. Brandon also asked what my favorite triggers are to watch and to make. My favorite trigger to listen to is just people whispering, whisper rambling. I discovered ASMR when I was probably 12. Well, I discovered ASMR when I was 4, watching Bob Ross, as most of us did, but I didn't know what it was until the whispering community popped up on YouTube before anyone had donned the phrase ASMR. Back when it was the OG whispering community, because one night when I was really little, I was having trouble sleeping, I was feeling kind of anxious, and I'd had this thing that I knew worked for me, but I didn't know what it was. I'd known about it for years. I know that when I hear whispering, that I get this really relaxing sensation, and I thought it was so weird at the time, watching myself type it into YouTube, but I was I think I searched for people whispering, and that's how I found the whisper community, and that's still always been my favorite. I prefer really light whispers. I don't like breathy whispers. I'm not big into really much else besides whispering. I love inaudible whispering, articulated whispers, clicky whispers, and I enjoy tapping and tracing and stuff like that. But mostly whispering just works for me, and that's my favorite thing to watch, and it's my favorite thing to make. Now, Boba Jedi, which is a really cool obviously I could do it really well. Not to toot my own horn, but it's kind of my job. So, it seems like the natural choice. There's a few things stopping me. One, I don't have a filming setup, and it's unlikely I ever will, because I'm just not a tech-savvy girl. I really don't have, like, filming space in my apartment. There's nowhere that I would set up a green screen. There's almost no chance in hell that I would ever learn to use a green screen. I hate video editing. I barely know how to do it, and every time I did do it, it was such a huge pain, and it would take like 12 hours to export the file or whatever from whatever stupid program I was using. I no longer have a working laptop. I don't have really any need for one, so I'm not gonna just spend money on something like that. And I think it would be really kind of awkward to do that, and most importantly, I'm very hesitant to do it because I'm afraid that the flight attendant and the flight experience that I would portray would be too specific to my experience working at my airline, and I do not want to reveal what airline I work for, because we are allowed to associate ourselves with the airline on social media, and there are a lot of flight attendants that work for my airline that vlog, and they are open about what airline they work for, but you have to do it in a way that's brand conscious, otherwise there could be repercussions, and I just don't want to have to stress about anything that I ever say. Not that I say anything controversial or rude, but just I don't want to have to think about that when I'm making ASMR. It's like, oh, is this brand appropriate, you know? And also I think that there's some risk of just ASMR in general as a concept not being viewed as brand appropriate, because even though it has improved a lot in the last 10 years, I think there's still a lot of misunderstanding about what ASMR is, and there's a little bit of a stigma about it. Maybe for some people, big corporations would probably fall under that umbrella, so I don't know. It has much less to do with any of that, and much more to do with the fact that I'm just very lazy and I'm not tech savvy, and I don't know that I would ever do a roleplay besides the ones that I've done on my channel that are kind of loose concepts that don't really require the immersive, like, green screen, costuming, acting. Like, I did a friend comforts you with tea roleplay, and that was easy because I just drank tea and pretended to talk to somebody, which doesn't really require a backdrop or, you know, all of that stuff that I'm very unlikely to ever get into because I'm just not, you know, I'm not a tech savvy person, and I don't really have the space, all that stuff I said. Jonathan Ceballos 583 asked me what kind of artists slash bands am I into? Well, who else? And INFP9W1 asked me what types of music do I like. it's just not for me. For the most part, I don't listen to country. It's like exceedingly rare that I would ever seek out listening to country music. And when I do, it's like Johnny Cash. And even that's rare. It's just not really my thing. I will sometimes hear country music and I don't hate it. But it doesn't mean I'm ever gonna go try to figure out who that artist was and listen to it on my own time. You know what I mean? So the primary types of music that I like is different subgenres of metal. Like, that's my main thing that I like is metal. But when I was younger, before I grew into listening to metal, obviously as many of us do, I started with like emo music and like pop punk music. So that's like my nostalgia music. And I'm gonna link some Spotify playlists that I have down below if you wanna listen to some tunes that I like. I have one playlist called Driving, because it's kind of the type of music I would listen to when I'm driving. It's like songs that I love, sounds that I like, that I listen to in the kind of like in a background. You know, it's like my favorite stuff. I could put it on anytime. I have another playlist called Cleaning, and I mostly listen to it when I'm cleaning, and that's all like my throwback emo pop punk stuff that like I grew up on. It makes me feel those happy nostalgic feelings. I know most of the lyrics to the songs because I've been listening to them forever, so it's like energizes me to like move and dance around the house and get some shit done. Those two kind of genres would be like my most favorite. So the artists for that, I wrote down like a couple ones that are on each of those playlists. So for like my driving kind of like metal music that I like, my favorite bands of all time: Tool, Deftones, Megadeth, Death, and Alice in Chains, and Avenged Sevenfold. But back in the day, Avenged Sevenfold, okay, we're talking City of Evil album, Avenged Sevenfold. I love them. Back in the day, I'm so sorry, but I don't know what the hell they're doing these days musically. I hate it, and it pains me to say it. I hate it. I'm so sorry. I even had M. Shadows, the singer of Avenged Sevenfold, on one of my flights, like recently, and I still was like, oh dude, love Avenged Sevenfold, but like, old Avenged Sevenfold, sorry. And I like classic, like Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Lamb of God, like heavy metal, Judas Priest. That playlist also has like Danzig, Misfits, Suicidal Tendencies, Anthrax. That's all like the driving playlist. That's like most of my favorite kind of stuff to listen to. And then the cleaning playlist with the throwback music is Fall Out Boy, Pierce the Veil, Panic at the Disco, Circa Survive, which is actually a band that I didn't really get into back when I was that age. That was a more recent one that somebody turned me on to. And Atreyu really bridged the gap for me between that kind of music and getting into heavy metal, because my brother rented the I think that album is called The Curse. The one that has You Eclipsed by Me on it. And that's the first song that I ever heard that was like people screaming. And I loved it. I was like, what is this? So that's Atreyu, a special place in my heart for being that band that like, oh, I like that kind of stuff. Now, aside from like metal music, I really, surprisingly, oddly enough, I really like hip-hop. I don't, okay, another thing I don't like is like modern rap. I don't like it, but I love, like, and I got roasted recently for saying oldies, but like, I don't know, golden era, like 90s East Coast hip hop, specifically East Coast. Very pretentious about it. But I started getting into that. I'm whipped by the Fugees. I don't know how. I found them on Pandora when I was like 19 or 20, and I got super into Fugees, and then like Gangstar, The Roots, Common, Tribe Called Quest, Black Star, De La Soul, Poor Righteous Teachers, Nas, Biggie, Mos Def, Big L, Camp Lo, Mobb Deep, and The Far Side. Those are the ones that I wrote down that are all on my hip-hop playlist. So I'll link that below also. And then, honorable mention, another type of music that I got like super into last year is Sireno music, which is, best as I understand it, is like sad Spanish music, and it consists usually of like a 3-piece instrumental outfit of acoustic musicians. It's like acoustic guitar, like one or two, I don't know if it's like a soloist and a rhythmicist kind of thing, but like acoustic guitar, acoustic bass, and a singer. And I haven't really heard any percussion in any of the music I've listened to, but I barely know a thing about it. But I have a very short but growing Sireno playlist on Spotify that all began with Yaritza y su esencia, which is a group of young individuals who are really, to me, super awesome. I don't speak a lick of Spanish. I have no idea what any of these people are saying, but the music sounds so good to me. Yaritza Su Esencia ended up being, I'm pretty sure, my #1 most listened artist on my Spotify Wrapped last year. Which is not saying that I listen to them so much, because most of what I listened to on Spotify last year was comedy podcast. I was in like the 0.1% of top listeners for the Bad Friends podcast. So like, my music listening was pretty seldom last year, but they made my Spotify Wrapped, so I have a Sireno playlist on my Spotify. And then like, I grew up playing the flute and the piccolo in a youth symphony, so I enjoy classical music. I got really into Spanish classical guitar when I found out about Francisco Tárrega. There's a piece called Capricho Árabe, and I somebody at 2:17 in the morning, which is what time it is where I am, was just being very, very loud in the hallway. And what sucks is that it was a flight attendant. I know that it was. Because only crews leave this early. And they were saying, talking to themselves. And from what I heard, I know it's a flight attendant. And it's like, anyway. So yeah, Spanish classical. My favorite piece of classical music that I ever played myself when I was in a symphony is Beethoven's 7th Symphony, specifically the second movement of Beethoven's 7th Symphony is one of my favorite pieces to listen to. It was already one of my favorite pieces to listen to before my symphony played the 7th Symphony, so I was really excited to learn it. I was the first chair in the flute section at the time, and I was also the only piccolo player, so it was really, really, really cool to perform that. And in my antique cabinet, in my hutch, I have my copy of that sheet music with all of my annotations handwritten on it as like a backdrop to my stuff. I don't play the flute anymore. I never really wanted to play the flute. I wanted to play guitar, but I didn't pick it because I was really shy when I was young, and I was like insecure somehow about if I chose guitar. Maybe my mom would think I was like a punk or something. I remember having like an anxiety attack over the first time that I wanted to have black shoes for school instead of like white shoes. As a little kid in Catholic school, worried about looking too punk when like obviously that's how I lean. So I chose the flute instead because I thought it would impress my parents, and it did, and they loved me playing it, and then eventually I did quit. It is what it is. But yeah, so I listen to classical music sometimes, but it's mostly the metal, terrible, loud stuff. J Agua asked a couple of questions. The first question was, am I currently in a relationship? No, I am not. I am not. He or she, I don't know, J Aqua, also asked what ASM artists I watch. Obviously there is a ton of them, so I will list some for you. I love Mia ASMR. She does fantastic, inaudible whisper rambling, completely right up my alley. Grace V also does a lot of that. I'm a big into ASMR that is in languages that I don't understand. I think my theory is that it's similar to me in the way that inaudible whispering works. Because I can't hear and understand what they're saying, my brain doesn't try to even comprehend. Because it can't. And I can just focus on the consonant sounds and the different vowel sounds that give me the triggers. And it's easier and more intense because I'm not distracted trying to listen to what they're saying. So for that reason, I also really love Soy ASMR, who makes videos in Korean. And I really love this channel called Neva ASMR Espanol. That woman makes some amazing videos. Her channel is so freaking fantastic. Big fan of Ephemeral Rift. I have that one green long sleeve t-shirt that says, I hope you are doing well, which is his video intro, and that is in fact Ephemeral Rift merchandise. He makes really sick videos. He also kind of strikes me as the kind of guy that would listen to Tool, and I respect that. Queen of Serene ASMR does not upload anymore, but she has a makeup artist roleplay from like 10 or 12 years ago that still gives me the tingles, and if you read the comments of that video, I am not the only one. Whispered Unicorn has an eye doctor roleplay video that I revisit constantly from like 10 or 12 years ago. She's one of the OGs from back in the Whispered community days, and she had a long hiatus, and she recently made a kind of like a life update video. I don't believe she's uploaded since, but I'm hoping that new uploads are coming because I miss her. I love Blue Whisper. She's one of the ones that really puts her foot up in whatever she's doing, like scenes. I'm sure scripts are involved, props, backdrops, costumes, amazing videos. I love Blue Whisper. I also recently discovered Moonlight Cottage ASMR, and I'm not usually into like really immersive role plays, but oh my god, she doesn't make ASMR, she makes movies, and you need to check her out. Softly Galoshes is another great ASMR artist. More recently, I have been watching so much from Nat Nonsense ASMR. She makes just like gum chewing whisper rambles, and I love them. She's great. That's really my jam, is just a basic whisper ramble video, sometimes inaudible, sometimes soft spoken, sometimes chewing gum, but that's like really what she does, and she does it well. I love Nat Nonsense ASMR right now. And then even more recently, I discovered a channel called Bombshell ASMR, and it was I don't remember the title of the video, but it was her in front of her Christmas tree from last December 2023, and she sells jewelry, and she like wears a ton of it in her videos, and I think that it's to showcase like her inventory, but just the sounds of like kind of the rummaging and the touching and the jewelry kind of clattering against itself and the rings, it just immediately gave me like really strong tingles, stronger than I felt in a while, and I love watching her videos. You should really check her out. Blonde Bombshell ASMR. I'm like super huge fan. Her and Nat Nonsense are like my two most favorite channels. The Lane Train 4868 asked me about specific hotels I like staying in and any special treatment that is received. So I cannot answer actually specifically what hotels I enjoy staying at, because that would be against company policy, just for security reasons, to say like, oh, we stay at these hotels. I really love the hotel in Charleston, which I mentioned because it's just really beautiful, and I love that city. I really love the hotel that we stay at in Salt Lake City because it is really beautiful, and I love that city. I've had great experiences with the hotels that we stay at in Raleigh, Nashville, and Boise, because they are like 10 out of 10 on level of hospitality. Obviously, any hotel that has a free breakfast that I am actually at the hotel for, because oftentimes we leave super early, but if it's a hotel that does free breakfast, obviously I love that. The ones that I mentioned that do hospitality really well, they'll do like, if we don't get to do the breakfast because we're leaving too early, they'll make like little bags for us to take with us that have like protein bars and yogurt and muffins and free coffee, and it's just so sweet. So that kind of falls into like the special treatment category. The place that we stayed at in Lima was all inclusive for the food, wasn't just like buffet food. It was a full-blown restaurant with beautiful food, a menu you could pick from, drinks, and it was all included. So I mean, we didn't pay for any of it. That was amazing. The hotel in Korea is like the most, I mean, I loved that hotel. Great amenities, beautiful room. First time I ever used a bidet, and I know this sounds weird, but I wish that I had recorded just my reaction to it, because that was a whole experience. Any hotel that has on the vanity next to the sink faucet a drinking water faucet, which I've only seen, I think, in Korea and Canada, is incredible, because most hotels have an ice machine. Almost no hotels have water machines outside of the gym, and as a girl who does not go to the gym, it feels really lame to walk all the way to the gym to be witnessed in front of everybody simply filling up my water and leaving and not working out. So I love hotels. Any hotel that has the fresh water in the room is awesome. Any hotel that leaves water for you in the room without like charging for it is dope. Yeah, the long layover hotel in Raleigh is also another one of the ones that is just really, really beautiful, and I love going there. Special treatment, so like any place that I mentioned that has the free breakfast, the inclusive food, or like the extra hospitality items is great. Another thing that you get like special treatment as an airline crew member is basically every hotel gives you a discount. It's usually like 20%. So discounts on their restaurant, their bar, things like that. And then Wi-Fi is always free. If it's gonna be like, if you are a standard guest, you'd have to pay for it. They have a promotional code for us. So that's cool too. Lib.Brown asked a number of questions. Thank you. The first one, how long have I been doing ASMR and what made you start? Well, I officially revamped this channel last year. I think it was in September. So that's like how long I've been doing this channel the way that it exists today, as like a flight attendant who does ASMR from hotel rooms on layovers. But I think my channel is actually like 4 years old. Originally what made me start is that it is something that I have wanted to do for a really long time as a consumer of ASMR content who thought that I would enjoy doing it, but was stopped for a long time because I was too worried about the stigma or just too insecure about uploading videos. But eventually I did do it, and originally the idea was to be Auntie Q ASMR, girl who collects antiques, drinks tea, knits, kind of has grandma vibes, but could never be a grandma because I don't want kids, so more like auntie vibes, which also worked out because Auntie Q was like a little spin-off of the word antique. And originally I wanted this channel to be me showcasing an antique, drinking some tea, talking about the pieces in my collection, which never really panned out because the filming setup. I started this channel when I was in a studio apartment in downtown San Diego, where getting the noise isolated that was happening all around me was very difficult. The only thing that I figured out to do was to record from my tiny closet, where my legs would fall asleep every time because I had to kneel inside of there. And I recorded on top of a milk crate, and I just never branched out into figuring out a way to like shoot from above, looking at an antique, have a mic stand. Didn't really think about how much would go into that idea. And then essentially, when I dove into my life of completely changing everything, my career, where I lived, moving across the country, becoming a flight attendant, watch my Hello Again video from last year if you want to deep dive on that. But the beginning of that process is really when I stopped uploading, and I've been doing like this iteration of the channel since that video. When and why did I become a flight attendant was another question from Lib Brown. I became a flight attendant in 2022. I applied for the job end of February, or end of January, beginning of February. I decided I was going to apply. And I spent like all of January like making just like a killer resume, the headshot, researching a ton on how to make it really right for the job. I think I applied in late January, early February, and then I went through an entire interview process that took me up until mid-May of 2022, which is when I got the job offer after an interview that they flew me out to have in person. Then I reported to my 2 months of training in June of 2022, and I graduated from training in August, early August of 2022, and officially became a working flight attendant in that same month, and this is what I have been doing ever since. Why did I become a flight attendant? Well, it's something that I've always wanted to do. Not like specifically did I think, oh, I want to be a flight attendant, but only thing that I've ever wanted to do is travel. I always wanted to figure out a way to get paid for it, but I'd never wanted to be like an influencer because I'm just too shy, and I just, again, with all the tech stuff, I would never take the time, make the effort, etc. But I always wanted to figure out how to have my life heavily involve travel, so flight attendant always seemed like the natural choice, and I always convinced myself that I would not get the job because obviously who doesn't want to travel? Obviously this is a job that's in very high demand, and is extremely competitive to get, and that is all 100% true. But when I did decide that I was going to do it, not that I was going to try to do it, but that I decided I was going to do it, and I went all in on accomplishing it. I did. I got it on my first try, because I decided I was going to, because I just saw one day somebody that we follow each other on Instagram for other reasons. I've never met her in real life, works for my airline, which I didn't even know because she does not post that on her Instagram feed, but she story posted that this company was opening up their applications, which was rare at the time, and they were taking limited applicants, and I was like, something in my head that day clicked. I was like, I think where I was at that time in my life, like, I'd had so many back-to-back office type full-time jobs that I was just working because I needed full-time pay, I needed benefits, I had a life to fund, and I was just working out of necessity. I had zero passion for what I was doing, and it felt very dead-end, and it was really starting to take a toll on me living that way. When I saw that, I was like, I'm doing it. So that's really the why, because I wanted to change my life. Lib Brown also asked, when is my birthday? My birthday is on June 7th, 1996. I am 27 years old as of recording this video, and I think there's a video on my channel celebrating my 24th birthday. If you want to watch that, I think we drank sparkling wine to I already kind of said that. Immediate future, Madeira, Portugal, hiking there. Absolutely. Ultimate dream vacation. Spending a month or more, at least a month in Vietnam. Long term, that's a dream. If I could be anywhere in the world right now, where would I be? I mean, obviously, either one of those two places, but I'm gonna say Vietnam just because that's more lofty. Not really because of money, just because of how long I want to spend. I hate planning things, but if I'm gonna spend a month or more, I would actually have to plan, and I hate planning, so it's gonna be a whole undertaking for me to take that trip. But it's gonna happen within the next year or two. It's gonna happen. So, I mean, that's where I would want to be. I'd also love to be in San Diego, and I'd love to be back in the Albanian Alps at that specific place that I had dinner every night in Theth. So I guess I really don't have one answer for that question. Actually, you know what? No, if I could be anywhere in the world right now, it would be in Theth, in the Alps, at that place, feeling serene and happy. What do I do in my free time? I sleep. That's one thing about this job. A lot of the time that I'm not working, I spend catching up on sleep or catching up on cleaning my apartment. But when actually my house is in order, I like to do all the hobbies that I mentioned before. Mostly long, finicky, project-y type cooking and baking projects, and watching sci-fi shows, and listening to comedy podcasts, and just hanging out with my cats, because I'm gone too often. Lib Brown also asked how many tattoos and piercings do I have? I have 4 tattoos, and I currently have I have 5 piercings. 5 piercings that I have jewelry in. It's like, because I can't take the dermals out, so like, I have my ears pierced. I just never wear earrings. I have my septum pierced. I just never wear jewelry in it. Before I got the gig as a flight attendant, I had my conch double helix and a vertical stack of second and third lobe piercings on this ear. And I had a triple forward helix, a rook, a tragus, a snug, a low conch that dangled down in the same lobe, and stacked second and third piercing on this ear. I took all of those out because when I got the job as a flight attendant, the current guidelines were that you could have 2 piercings per ear, cartilage not included. So since I had stacked lobe piercings for my second lobe piercing, it would look weird if I wore one or the other, so I took those out as well. And I just never really wear earrings anymore because I always freaking lose them. I love wearing flat pack screw-in piercings like what you use for cartilage, but I can really only get those in with the help of my piercer, who I used to go to all the time for new piercings and jewelry changes. I was curating my whole ear situation. They've since updated the rules at my job that you can have 2 piercings per ear still, no more, but now you are allowed to include one of them as a cartilage piercing. So obvious choice would be to put back in one of my helix piercings and maybe the tragus on the other ear. But they have to be studs only, and I always wore rings in those ones. you know. We are allowed to have a nose piercing. I think that recently changed for cultural reasons. But I have my septum. Septums are not allowed. It's a nostril piercing only. And like, I have my moles or freckles right here, and then I have a freckle on my upper lip that's covered by concealer right now. But just because I have like the marks, I don't know which side of my face or which side of my nose to get a nostril piercing on to make it look balanced. Also, I wear giant glasses frames, and I think that it would be really annoying, so I haven't gotten that done. I got these dermal implants when I found out I got the job of a flight attendant, because I knew I was going to have to take out all of my other piercings, and that was really bumming me out. So I got some piercings that I could always have in, because I'm just not the girl that's going to change my jewelry. If I have to do that, I'm going to leave it out, and then I'm going to not have it, which is kind of what happened with my earlobes now. So I got these nice little fixed in ones that are always there, and they don't show when I'm wearing any of my uniforms. Doesn't matter the cut of the dress, you know, they're always covered. So I got those for myself. And I got my belly pierced when I was like 14. I wrote my parents a 7-page persuasive essay convincing them to let me do it, and it worked, and I still have it, and I still like it. Lib Brown also asked me, what is my favorite type of food? Vietnamese food, Mexican food, Peruvian food. Mostly Vietnamese food. Favorite place I've been for work or vacation. Okay, we did already answer that one. I think that was like the first question that I answered. So back to INFP9W1, who had also asked me what types of music I like. So we answered that one. But they also asked me, how does music inspire me? I mean, as a shithead that listens to like a bunch of metal, not to say metal can't be inspiring, but like I wouldn't say that it inspires me, you know? It just gets me amped up, and that's how I like to feel. The other question that they asked was, what emotions do I experience when I listen to my favorite genres? Amped up. That's how I'm trying to feel when I listen to my music. I don't like music that makes me feel sad or inspires me to think about like memories. Like I don't want to feel sad. I never want to feel sad. I don't really mess with sad music or music that makes me think that way. When I listen to classical music, I can kind of be inspired, I guess, just because I played classical music. So, like, I can hear a Megadeth guitar solo, and I can understand that that's really freaking cool. It's really difficult, and I would never be able to play it, but I don't really know why, because I don't know what goes into it. I know a little bit about what goes into classical music, so it can be inspiring when I listen to it, just because, like, I'm like, wow, I can understand why it's technical, but I don't really care so much about that. It just inspires me because it's beautiful, and I feel kind of like wistful and relaxed when I listen to classical, and like that's as far as I'll go with music that makes me feel sad. Like Adagio for strings is like sad. Some of the Spanish guitar music can feel sad, or that there's longing in it. Again, I don't like to feel that way, so really the only types of emotions or any way that I'm trying to be inspired to feel when I listen to music is gassed up. Let's do this. If I'm putting on music, there's something I need to get done. So I think that's why I listen to a lot of like metal and loud and hip hop type of stuff. Dandy Grace 8930 asked me a couple of questions. Question number 1. Again, when will I introduce you to my kitten family? I did already answer that one. Also asked me what my favorite trigger is, which I also answered that one as well. But the third question I love. And that third question that Dandy Grace 8930 asked me is, what is the most important thing to tell people of younger age? I've got a couple of them. I kind of thought of this as like things I wish I could tell my younger self, so I brainstormed on it a little bit and I wrote some things down. Number 1, journaling will help you even if it sounds ridiculous. I'm not into like self-help, pop psychology, new age wisdom. I think for the most part, all of that stuff is BS and a little silly. I do highly believe in practicing mindfulness and gratitude. And I found consequentially, journaling is what helps me the most with that. Because when you say journaling, what does that mean? Am I supposed to keep a diary? Like, am I supposed to write down aspirations and inspirational quotes? Like, that feels silly to me, personally. And so I was really resistant to that piece of advice, because that floats around this notion of you should keep a journal. I was really resistant to that for a long time. And when I was like 19, I was in a season of my life where I was feeling a little bit uninspired, sick of my job, stuck, and just like frustrated. And I didn't feel inspired and motivated by my daily routine. I wasn't doing things that I enjoyed, and I felt like I had to steal my time back when I wasn't at work to do things that I actually enjoyed, but really all of those things I was doing were just wasting time. And I started to get so frustrated. So for some reason, maybe I was desperate enough, I started to journal. And at first, like I said, it came from a negative place. I was frustrated with myself, my output, my effectiveness as a person. So when I started to journal, it was extremely negative. I would make like this unrealistic to-do list. That's what I would write in my journal. The things I have to do today, it'd be like 15, 20 things. Can't do it in a day, much less with a full-time job. And then a little section of blank space at the bottom. And then if I didn't get all my stuff done, I would write something negative about like, oh, you suck today, like, do better. And I think we all have like the kind of we're way too hard on ourselves type things, and we internalize those things. But something about seeing it on paper gave it like a bite that I was like, wait, I would never let anybody talk to me like this. What am I doing? So without me even making a conscious effort to change my narrative, it just happened because seeing it in front of me was so ugly. So like, I still have the first journal I ever wrote. It's crazy because like my handwriting was different. It was angry scribbles on a page, and gradually like like it became realistic stuff. Like, I would write 8 boxes along the top of the page. That's the amount of water I want to drink today. The to-do list, instead of what do I have to do, it would be what can I accomplish today, or what do I have the opportunity to do today, framing it in a positive way, and then I would limit it to something realistic. And if I didn't get it all done, instead of reflecting on the failure, I would reflect on the successes. And then naturally that transitioned from, instead of just being a place that I write to-do lists, at some point, for some reason, I was inspired to just start writing, just like about my day. Not like diarying, not talking to myself. There was no like voice of a narrator to it. I was just writing random shit about my day. And through that process, so the first thing it helped me with was gratitude, for just the life that I had. The things that I had to do suddenly became opportunities. And I became easier on myself. I had empathy that I was just naturally kind of coming to me. And then, so the next thing that helped just happen, again, there was no day that I just consciously decided, oh, I'm not going to do the to-do list thing anymore. I'm going to do, like, traditional journaling instead. I don't know how, it all just flowed naturally. And then I started doing, like, the writing things down about my day. And it just naturally became mindfulness of just, like, things that I would just notice. Things that made me smile. Things that brightened my mood. Something that I thought was beautiful. So it was just, like, all of this stuff that I'm grateful for. Things that made me happy. Reflecting on positive influences. And all of that led to me noticing, like, synchronicities. And I really don't know how to put it into words, but just that practice of doing those things, I felt like I was noticing a path. Like, things just kind of started to jump out to me in my day-to-day that made my life easier, started to lead me in the right direction. So I know it sounds ridiculous, and it doesn't even have to be something that you set out to do in a positive way, because when I started it was insanely negative, and it became something nice, and I did it every single day for the longest time, and then I got so busy uprooting my life, but like all of this led to my big massive life change, which took so much of my time. I haven't daily journaled in a long time. I still go back and do it as often as I can. I'm actually still in the process of trying to recount my whole experience of training and becoming a flight attendant, because it's the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me, that I want to tell the whole story on paper. And I don't know if I'll ever finish that, but I want to get back into a daily practice, because it all just kind of led me to where I am now. And I mean, you heard me talk earlier about needing to take days off to like reset my apartment and the cleanliness and all of that. I think if I got back into the journaling habit, it would help me with other habit forming behaviors and staying better on top of things, which is something that I really need to commit to with this new lifestyle. To add that on to my answer previously about somebody who asked me what my goals are, I need to find a better balance with my life. So that was one piece of advice, and kind of within that, you heard me talk about mindfulness and gratitude. Try to instill that, make it a practice. I know it's another one of those things people talk about, but I think it's important. The next kind of thing that I would tell my younger self, or a young person, learn and practice empathy. I think with most people who are good people, this comes naturally. Eventually in life, you start to be able to do that, but what people all too often forget to do is to practice it with themselves. You need to have empathy for yourself. You need to be able to desires that you have in the present day, be it as a consequence of a younger version of yourself. You have to be able to constantly forgive the person that you were on day 1, 10, 20, 100, from the day you were born to each new day that you live. You have to be able to empathize with every past version of yourself so that you're never frozen in time in the past. You can keep evolving, and you have to remember that you are deserving of the same grace that you would extend to others. Which kind of is like with that theme of being too hard on yourself, which I think a lot of us are. You have plenty of time. This is something that I really struggled with, that I wish I could tell my younger self. Like, I have always been so convinced that it's too late to start something new. Like, like I said before, I wanted to always play guitar, and now I think I'm too old all of a sudden to learn a new skill. It's not. I have plenty of time. It's not too late to learn a new skill, to change your life, to do something that you want to do. You have plenty of time. I don't know why so many of us are convinced that it's too late or we're too old. It's not. You can choose to do something any day. Wake up and just, I'm gonna do this now. You have that freedom. Do it. And then, if I could talk to my younger self, I would tell her some of my stupid little mottos that I have in my life. One of my little things is like, good enough is good enough. Which might sound kind of depressing on the surface, but what I mean is, if something's good enough, then it's good enough. Like, this helps me in a lot of avenues. So, like, financially right now, I need to save money, because I have long-term goals, and I have past life debt. So, I have my apartment, and the only thing that I have in my apartment is a desk, and a mattress on the floor, and a dresser, and even though it's a one bedroom with a room for my cats, like, my cats have their litter box, their cat trees, their toys, their beds. They have what they need. I have exactly what I need. I need a place to shower, I need a place to sleep. So I have a mattress. I have no other furniture. My living room is a literal empty room. No couch, no coffee table, no TV, no dining table. I eat standing up in the kitchen, or I eat in bed, and I have one bowl, one plate, one fork, one knife, for disciplinary purposes. It's just me. I'm single. No one else lives there. I'm lazy, kind of, and I have ADHD, kind of. I have those tendencies in me where, like, if I have another bowl to eat out of, I'll just leave the dirty one in the sink, and then I'll use a clean one, and I'll put that one in the sink, and I'll use a clean one, and then all of a sudden, there's so many dishes, and it's too much, and I don't even want to look at it, don't even want to think about it, so I don't get done. So I have one of everything to force me to stay on top of it. But I don't need any more than what I have. It's not what many people would want for themselves, but it's good enough. And it's good enough. It's getting the job done. And it's making me realize in the process that I can be happy with a lot less than what I thought. Because I think that people get stuck in, like, if you're unhappy, and if you're not satisfied with what you're doing, it's so much easier to seek comforts and little band-aids is to make the big changes so you can buy something, that's what a lot of people do. You can get into some relationship when you don't really have the best of yourself to give, and it's not fair to get in a relationship when you'd expect to receive the best of somebody else, but you don't have it yet because you have work that you need to do. But you're gonna get all these other things to mask that, and you think that you need them to be happy because they become little sources of dopamine for you, and you think that that's what you need. It's not. You need less. You need to realize how happy you can be with so little, which is what I am enjoying right now, because I have an unfurnished apartment, and I drive a car that's like really beat up, but it works, and I have, limited things, and it's all enough, it's all good enough, and it's all more than enough. And it's been nice to realize how much I can pare down and still be happy. It's making me realize what the source of my actual happiness is. Removing all of that other noise helps me realize the things that really, truly, actually inspire my happiness and my motivation, and it tells me what I need to actually invest more in. So now I challenge myself all the time. Like, if I have an impulse to buy or fix something, like recently I almost bought a bed frame because there's an outlet behind my mattress that my pillow is always unplugging the thing from, because my mattress is on the floor, so my pillows are always butted up against the outlet. Instead of buying a bed frame with a headboard to block all of that, I took a cardboard box and I folded it up and I made that my headboard, and it fixed the problem. It's good enough. It's good enough. That might sound absolutely insane, but it's like a practice that I'm doing right now, and I'm actually really happy with the way that my life is going. The other mantra that I have is lower your barrier of entry, which also sounds depressing because it sounds like I'm saying lower your standard. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying lower your barrier to entry. If you've decided that you're only gonna be happy when you have the big house and the fancy car and the da-da-da-da-da-da, actually interrogate that notion. Try to figure out what is the standard, what's actually happiness for you. Lower your barrier of entry to happiness. It's okay to want the car, the house, the wife, the whatever, but all of that's future stuff. And if you don't have the best of yourself to apply to achieving those goals, you're never gonna get there. So you gotta be happy now. You gotta be the best you that you can be with whatever resources and shit is at your disposal. Even if it's not the shit that you want, you gotta try to be happy with it. It's gotta be good enough. If it's good enough, it's good enough. Lower your barrier to entry on what happiness is for you, on what satisfies you. End of day, gun to your head, what do you really need? And realize that you probably already have it. And all of a sudden the barrier to entry goes down and you can be happy here. And if you're happy here, you can get here, and you can get here. But it's not going to be because, you have this, that's what made you happy. You were already happy here. Really think about your life, and if you practice more gratitude, more mindfulness, if you realize that what's good enough is good enough, and you lower your barrier to entry, you might just find that you're happier than you think. If you can just remove all of those qualifications, I have to be this much money, blah, 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 and I'm not gonna be good until I've done that. Have some empathy for yourself, alright? Realize what it took for you to get to where you are, you know? Forgive past you for the mistakes that you've made. Take pride in past you for the steps that got you to where you are right now. Have some empathy and grace for yourself. Appreciate what's within. Appreciate what you have in this little bubble. Okay? Bring that barrier of entry down. Allow yourself to be happy here so you can get here and there. And that applies to other stuff too. I talked about this concept before one time when I was talking about stand-up comedy. Like, my mom will not laugh at jokes that I swear to God are funny if they're filthy, rude, offensive. Like, for her, comedy has to be, like, intelligent. I think that's dumb. Why are you gonna make a set of rules for what's funny to you because you want to laugh less? Lower your barrier of entry to things that make you laugh, to things that are fun for you. Like, you know, maybe you think like, yeah, fun, it would only be fun if I could do this crazy thing. Like, okay, why can't fun just be like dancing around in your empty living room because you have an unfurnished apartment, which means you have the space to dance around? That's what I'm saying. Look at things a certain way and find the stupid little good thing, as silly as it is. And I swear to God, it's all mindset, baby. Another piece of advice that I would give to anybody young is to travel. Doesn't matter how near or how far, for how long. I swear to God you can do it. If those kids that I let hitchhike with me, that freaking, they travel a lot. They're not influencers. They don't have brand deals. They do it really dirt cheap and it's inconvenient for them. Honestly, it didn't even sound that fun the way that they did it. Like, having to travel by so many means for so long just to get where they were going. But they were so happy. That's what I'm saying. Travel is such a heavy influence on you, I think. Doesn't matter if you can afford to go on some international trip. Just go to a city that you've never been before. Take a train within your state to a different part of your state and do it alone. The real message here is travel solo. Solo travel. Even if it's only once in your life, I swear that's enough to just, that experience will help you, like, grow as a person. It will give you so much confidence and so much fun. I personally highly advise younger people to find, by whatever means are within their reach, find a way to travel solo. Take a solo trip. And do not be afraid to do stuff alone. I'm not just talking about when you're traveling alone, because it's a lot easier to, like, eat alone at a restaurant when you're not in your hometown, because you're like, I'm a tourist, whatever, this isn't the real me, this is tourist me. Just do stuff alone. Don't be afraid to do stuff alone. Because, like, how many times have you not done something because you couldn't get your friends on board, or you couldn't get a group together? Like, that's stupid. If you want to do something, just do it. Go eat alone at a restaurant. I do that all the time because I don't have any fucking friends anymore. I don't have any friends anymore that live in my city, alright? I moved all the way to Minnesota
Minnesota. I don't know anybody here. I still don't, and I still do stuff alone. I went and saw that Bad Friends comedy show alone like 2 months ago. I'm gonna see Mark Normand in like 2 more months alone. I've seen Sam Morrill alone. Because also, even when I did live in a city with friends of my own, they don't even like the kind of music that I like. This t-shirt that I'm wearing is from a concert that I flew to Ohio for 3 days, and I went alone like 5 years ago because I don't have any friends that really like this kind of music that I like. So I was like, that's what I want to do, so I went by myself. I've also taken a bus for like 8 or 11 hours, however long it takes to take a Greyhound bus, because that's all I could afford to take from San Diego to Sacramento to go to another heavy metal festival alone. And I saw Tool for the first time. I saw Avenged Sevenfold for like the millionth time. I saw Slayer for like the 3rd time, just because that's what I like to do. I did it alone, and I always have the best freaking time. Caveat to this, I just love being alone in general. That's the majority of what I want to do, is just be alone. But especially if you're kind of naturally adverse to that, you should do it. Like, I want to take up pottery. I don't have anyone to do that with, but I plan on doing it. I'm gonna do it by myself. I think it's important to do things alone. Just be able to do that. Because you shouldn't hold yourself back on account of anybody else. That's all I'm saying. Okay. The final question comes to us again from Poison Spider, aka my real life best friend Zach, who wants to know, when will I try a new mic? Thanks to my best friend in the real world, Zach, I do now own a Tascam microphone. Still don't own a laptop, still hate video editing, still don't do anything tech related, and I still am very, very, very resistant to learning any of that. And number one thing I just don't have the money for is like a laptop. Or not money that I would spend on it. I wouldn't buy a laptop for the sole purpose of editing these videos. So he and I are trying to do research to figure out if there is a way to plug the Tascam microphone into my cell phone to make it an external mic that I can just plug and go like I do now with my videos currently. Because it seems like you have to record the audio separate from the video with the Tascam, take out the SD card, put it into a laptop, upload the video into the laptop, use editing software to put the two together, export that, upload it. I'm never gonna do that, I swear to God. So we're trying to figure out if and how you can use the Tascam as an external mic when recording a video on the phone, because this one I can just plug it in and it records through this mic. I'm not really sure. It seems like there's some information on Reddit about how you could possibly do it. I really don't understand what I'm reading because I'm not a tech person. But if you know how to do that, or if there's any ASMR artists on YouTube that do that, and maybe they've made a video explaining how they do that, and you can reference that to me in the comments below to help me with that, because I am very excited and grateful for that microphone. I just need to actually be able to use it in a way that's realistic for the way that I make videos, and it's not realistic for me to say that I'm gonna start editing, because I just know that I'm not. I mean, I make these videos. Like, I got into this hotel. I think my flight landed at 11:51 p.m. here in Hartford, Connecticut, which is where I am right now. I got into this hotel room at like probably around 12:20, 12:30 midnight. Okay, it's currently 3:18 in the morning. I'm not gonna go to sleep. I have to be leaving this hotel again at 4:50 in the morning. I'm working what's called a lean over. I had about 4 to 5 hours in a hotel in between flights. I fly directly back to Minneapolis tomorrow. When I get there, I'm gonna go to Costco. And then I'm gonna go home. And I'm gonna take a little bit of a nap. And then I'm gonna do some laundry. But like this is when I record, you know? And with being a flight attendant, like the time that I have that I'm not at work, it's always a game of catch up. Cleaning the apartment, spending time, dedicated time where I do nothing but sit with my cats so I don't feel so guilty for being gone. Like, it's just not realistic to say that I'm gonna be video editing. Like, the only time that I'm focused on making and uploading videos is in this little bubble when I'm inside of a hotel room. I record and upload them all from these rooms, and when I'm outside of these rooms, it's not anything that I'm thinking about or spending time on, and that's kind of the way that it has to be right now, at least right now, with my skill level and my lifestyle. So I really hope we can figure out using that microphone as an external recording device. If you know anything about that, please let me know. And that was the last question. Shout out to you if you made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much to everyone who provided a question for me to answer. Thank you to everybody who is supporting this channel so graciously. You got us to 800 subscribers. That is so exciting. Totally not what I expected to happen when I started uploading again a couple months ago. This whole thing has really blown me away, and I appreciate it so much. So thank you to everybody who's liked, subscribed, commented, shared, helped the support keep coming our way. Thank you for being a part of it. It's all just exciting to me, and I'm really just kind of, it's all a surprise to me. A very pleasant surprise. So, thank you. If you made it to the end of this video, a second big shout out to you.